So compact sliders can promise a lot for solo creators. So today we're going to take a look at the iFootage Shark Nano 2. We'll take a look at how it fits into a small creator workflow and if it can replace larger, heavier, bulkier setups for daily shoots. I've been using this for a while and I want to give you my honest, in-depth opinion. Let's nerd out. So let's start by talking about the build and design. So the idea here is that this slider makes portability kind of practical, but does it actually? So you can kind of see the case here comes with the slider. There's a bunch of storage here for some of the accessories and connectors, which we'll talk about in a second, and this kind of holder guy, but I'm just gonna pull this out of the bag here. So right off the bat, you can see that the Shark Nano 2 comes in noticeably smaller, lighter, and more compact than most motorized sliders that are designed for video work. So if you're a solo shooter and need gear that can easily travel, that can really make the difference. And so even though it is smaller and lighter weight, right, this is all metal. And you can see on the underside here, it's got these adjustable feet. It definitely has a sturdy feeling to it. So if you use this thing a lot, I'll tell you right now, I've not experienced anything where I have felt like it has been like poor construction, or I've heard no creaking or cracking, or I mean, this is solid metal here. But that's where kind of the first thing that I want to mention about my experience with it, which is the flexibility that I've experienced. So number one, you can kind of see on the bottom here that you have multiple mounting points. And when I have used it, I've traditionally used the 3/8 inch mount on the bottom, which is great because I can actually attach that to a number of my tripods. And I have yet to have any issues feeling like it was going to fall, even when my camera was all the way over on the odd side while it's moving. But it also has a mounting point over on the other side. So you can actually have it vertical and still potentially mount it. So even though you've got limited space here, there's just a ton of mounting options just kind of all over this guy. But you also have onboard controls, which are integrated into this touchscreen, so you can make quick adjustments to your settings. And I think this screen could use a little bit of work, but I'm gonna get into that as we talk. Probably follow the arrow that's on here. So setup is relatively straightforward. You've got a quick release plate. It just kind of slides in just like that, and then you clamp it closed. The one thing about this quick release plate that I actually like is that it supports both large and small with this little, it's got a spring-loaded adapter inside here, which is nice because then I don't have to worry about adapting whatever it is that I'm attaching here. And because it has the mounts, I'm able to add things like an LCD monitor or other stuff that you might need. Like, it's small, but there's a lot to this. So if you are kind of run and gun, small and light video content producer, I wouldn't necessarily say that this is gonna go in a single bag. It's still relatively weighty, but it's a lot easier than lugging around a giant slider. Real quick, I wanna break into this video where we're talking about the iFootage Nano 2 to let you know that this video is sponsored by me. Unless I say otherwise, every video on this channel is backed by my photography business. iFootage did send me this slider, but they're not paying for this video and they're not getting final approval on its release. YouTube ad revenue is nice, but it doesn't really keep the lights on. I am a working professional photographer, and this is how I make a living. I specialize in portraits, family sessions, and photo and video work for small businesses, where I may bring the iFootage Nano 2 to your office. So if you're in Las Vegas, LA, Riverside, Orange County, or San Diego, and you need professional content that makes you look good, like some slow-mo slider content, I am available. You'll find booking info and links down in the description. Now let's get back to talking about this guy. Let's talk about daily use and kind of real-world scenarios. So how does it handle in the kind of day-to-day grind of shooting sets and audio and fast product videos? And so I'll tell you, in my experience in daily use of small business shoots for both doing product highlights where you want moving shots of a product or something like that, or maybe you just want to add a little bit of motion to like an interview shot. This thing really helps with quick turnaround production, because one of the realities for creators who are working in setups where space is a premium, you don't have an assistant, you don't have anybody wrangling your gear, and things that can be quickly deployed and set up is a pretty big deal. And this thing has actually really been a big deal for me as I've been incorporating it into my workflow, because I am a solo creator and I am normally capturing both photo and video. And a lot of times I'm working in a space that is operational, an office or a studio or a retail space. And if I want to be able to capture that stuff and reduce noise and how much I'm potentially interrupting their day so that I can get what I need, the Nano 2 motor is really quite quiet. I've run it during interview setups and the takes are clean. I don't get any faint background noise of the motor whining. And in practical reality, I've replaced a much larger, much bulkier, newer slider with this one in almost all of my day-to-day. It's really simple to throw this thing up on a tripod, throw a battery into it, turn it on, and get it configured to do whatever it is that I'm doing. Plus, I can move it. So once I kind of have the speed and the slide that I'm looking for, I can use that multiple times by just literally just kind of picking it up on the tripod and moving to another spot. I don't have to reconfigure a lot of stuff. So it's portable, which makes it more than just convenient. It literally improves kind of the work that I'm doing, because then I'm worrying less about this and I can think more about the creativity of the shots that I'm getting or looking around for other opportunities. I find myself actively looking for places that I can use this, as opposed to with my larger slider saying like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to pull out the slider. Okay, what am I gonna put it on? How am I gonna set up the stands? How much space am I gonna have? Like, I don't have to worry about any of that with this guy. And I have legitimately walked away from using the slider. I've just said, you know what, screw it. I'll do it handheld. I'll do something else. Like, it's not gonna work. And in this case, I can keep using the slider. I've even just kept my camera on the slider with it turned off because it's just easier. And then I move back to whatever it is that I'm filming, and maybe I want to incorporate some motion. Like, having this as an intermediary between my tripod and my camera has actually been really kind of fun, but also not a hassle. But now let's talk about the tech and actually what it does from a feature standpoint, beyond just being kind of small and lightweight. And we'll talk about whether or not there's any kind of trade-offs in that. So first things first, it does deliver reliable professional motion. So I'm just gonna pop a battery on here real quick. So this takes an F96 or an NP F960 style battery, which I have a ton of. And full disclosure, they also sent me this, which is their like mega battery. So this is a 100 watt hour, 4,500 milliamp, crazy, 4,500 milliamp battery. This is a separate product, but they do make it specifically to go with some of their sliders and other devices. It supports power delivery up to 140 watts, but I will tell you that using the NP F960 batteries that I have, it just doesn't use a lot of power. So I've been able to use it for like a 3 or 4 hour period, and honestly, I've yet to run out of battery hasn't been an issue. So I haven't had to use this yet, but I haven't. And they do sell this, and I'm sure it's phenomenal. They've got an app that runs really well. It's called iFootage Moco. You just open it up, you select what you're working on, boom, it's there, and then you hit next, got it. It'll ask you whether or not you're gonna use a camera or a smartphone, because you can attach this to your camera for control like you would with something like a gimbal. And we'll talk more about gimbal functionality in just a second, but I've got the app up and I can just go, and it'll start moving. Now, I have it set up right here to go in a loop. I don't know, can you hear that? I don't see anything on my audio monitors that indicates that you can hear anything, but let me know if you hear anything down in the comments. But it creates reliable, professional looking motion, especially when using programmed moves. So I have this just on a A-B move. You can actually do up to 4 positions. So you can actually combine the pan with the slide. And so this is just an A-B in a loop, but the motor control stays consistent. I've not seen any shakes or jitters. And so you can create those kind of multi-angle shots. Now there are some limitations with this that I will get to in just a moment, but I do want to say that the app is solid. It connects really quickly, and it's really fast at responding to my requests. And while it does have this second battery, the fact that it does support standard traditional batteries that pretty much everybody has in these NPF 960s. That is really, really nice. Now, one thing I also want to mention is that this does work directly with the Ronin gimbal system with the RS2 and Neewer. It has an attachment plate, like I'll take this off here and show you. It's got the 6 pogo pins, and it does come with the base plate to allow you to connect your Ronin to it so that you can actually add additional movement in these flows, and you can kind of mix all that together. Unfortunately, I do not have a Ronin RS2 or Neewer. I actually shoot with a Ronin S, which was the first generation of the single handheld Ronin from DJI. This does not support the Ronin, so unfortunately I'm not able to test that feature set. But you can, honestly, and I've done this and it's not been terribly difficult, you can attach the base plate to an existing gimbal that you have. So for example, I have shot quite a bit with, this is the Zhiyun gimbal, and it just has a thread mount on the bottom, so you can actually just take this guy off here like this. You can just thread these two together like so. Now, obviously I would probably tighten this a little bit better, but I'm just going to show you as an example. And so you can actually continue to use your camera on the gimbal. It's a solid mount. I've done this a couple of times. Not only does it work good, it looks good. So ultimately, if you would prefer not to have to juggle different chargers and batteries and accessories, and you are already someone who is in the DJI system using a Ronin or an RS2 or 3 or 4, there's a lot to like here. But I will say that there are a few things that are a little more complicated that I don't love, and that I want to make sure that I tell you about. So first is the integrated screen. What I'll say about it is that it is bright, and for things like ending, pausing, and using standby mode, it works fine. What I will say though is that creating, editing, or manipulating any of the settings is really difficult, because honestly, the buttons are kind of small and a little difficult for me. I have big fingers, and you can kind of see, if you go back here, you can kind of see it's almost not even able to fit the entire user interface on the screen. But obviously it's small, so they had to fit on here what they could. Maybe not so much a critique as it is just something to be aware of. I much prefer using the app, but the good news is the app is very good. So it actually makes it really easy. The next thing that I just want to bring up is the positioning. So the pan function on this, when you're running the pan function, it works really, really well. It's smooth. There's no jerking or quick movement or anything like that. But when you do try to adjust it to set your individual points and get it really dialed in for that position, I found that fine tuning can be a little more jerky. Now in the app, it does have the ability to change the sensitivity for that. But what I'll say is that I don't know what kind of curve they're using for that control, but it might need just a little bit of fine tuning, because obviously at 100%, you can spin your camera around in an almost unsafe speed. Again, not when it's actually running, but when you're just adjusting it. But then you can turn down the sensitivity for that, and then it just goes slow. And when you're trying to get into that real specific spot, the sticks, the virtual sticks, just feel like they could use just a little bit of tweaking. Again, I think that's software, so maybe a firmware update. But if we compare it head to head with the much larger Neewer slider that it replaced, the Shark Nano 2 is smaller, it's lighter, it's much easier to integrate into my kind of compact travel kit, my solo shooting kit. And so if you are really looking for something small, but that gives you another tool to get different shots, this can really make the difference. Now, one thing to note, and something that this slider is not trying to be, is one of those super long and large sliders, right? This isn't track. But again, when combined with an RS2 or Neewer, you get multi-axis control, you add in AI tracking, which is an option, and you get a lot of professional looking motion with very little setup and teardown time, which for me means that I'm using this more, which adds a lot of value to it in my kit, because it allows me to add those additional shots and not really worry as much about how much time or effort it's gonna take to get them. I can just get them. And in my usage, which has primarily been for product reviews and business video work. Right? I've worked for a number of small businesses here in Las Vegas and in Southern California, creating video content for a variety of uses, and this has just added one additional layer of professionalism to. But since they sent it to me, I will say that the 2 or 3 things that I've not been able to really test yet with this, and I'm hoping to soon, are things like the time-lapse mode, the multi-capture, things that I would normally do in a kind of landscape photography, outdoor adventure environment if I'm car camping. And this has specific configurations for that. I just haven't had the opportunity to take advantage of it. And so hopefully soon I will be able to. And if I get any new or exciting insights on this, I will that information. One other thing to mention is that this is the 460 model. They do make a longer version that they literally call the long version. So while this one has a 233 millimeter travel distance, that one actually has a 433 millimeter travel distance, almost double the length. But because they're just making the actual motor component here longer, you get almost double the track length, but you get only a third longer in terms of the total device. So it's actually not that much bigger. They both can handle a 7 kilogram payload. That's horizontal. And then they can do a 3.5 kilogram payload vertically. So that's 3.5 kilograms vertically, 7 kilograms horizontally. This version weighs 2.8 kilograms total, and the longer version is 3.1 kilograms. And obviously you can throw cameras, gimbals, you can throw your own fluid head on here, action cameras, phones, I mean, really whatever you want. You can throw whatever you want on here. So the iFootage Shark Nano 2 is an effective tool for creators if you need flexibility, speed, and portability. My honest opinion, I really do like this thing. They're not paying me to say that, and honestly, I have no interest in telling you guys anything that isn't my honest opinion. Sometimes I'm pretty bad at keeping my mouth shut. If this thing was bad, I would tell you. The screen can be a little fiddly for me, and I don't like how fast it jerks when you pan in the setup mode. Otherwise, it's smooth, it's fluid, it's quiet, it's light, it's small, and it does a really good job. And I can throw it on a tripod. So if you're someone doing small to medium scale production, if you're a solo creator or shooter, if you're doing a lot of travel focused work, I think the benefits definitely outweigh any of the potential downsides. You get reliable movement, easy setup, it's got standard battery compatibility, lots of mounting options. And I think for most content creators, this thing is a sensible, solid tool, and honestly, I think a good investment, especially if you're invested in the RS2 or later from DJI, because this thing just hooks right up. Also, if you want to support what I'm doing here, consider becoming a channel member. You'll get access to exclusive resources like LUTs and presets, highlighted comments, members-only live videos, and early access to new uploads. If you're looking to book a photo or video session and you want me to show up with this guy, and you are in Las Vegas, LA, Riverside, or Orange County, go ahead and let me know down below. All the contact information is there. Also down there, all my gear links, which includes my 2025 Content Creators Essential List for anyone getting started. Those are all affiliate links, so if you purchase anything, it does go to help the channel. And don't forget, I am rebuilding my Instagram after losing my original account, and I'm doing a giveaway to try to really kind of energize that effort. If you follow me over on Instagram, be a subscriber here and put a comment down below that you followed me on Instagram, you will be entered to win gear like this. I'm not going to keep this. I'm going to give this away. And if you want to sweeten the pot, go ahead and like and share everything you see over there on Instagram. But as always, the easiest way to support the channel is just to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and just keep watching. It's free and it really helps. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
The whole slide.
Thumbnail.